Okay. Good. So we'll share these later. So again, welcome to this session on AWS Academy training, cloud training. So you're starting out with cloud architecting, and we're about to start a guided lab on creating a highly available environment. If we're able to finish in time, we can be able to see whether we can be able to automate infrastructure deployment using AWS CloudFormation. As you can see, we also have a number of other guided labs. We also have streaming dynamic content using Amazon CloudFront, that is module 11. I think this one isn't really having any kind of lab. This is an optional lab of trying to break a monolith to a microservices, which is, I believe, is very, very interesting, although they put it up as an optional lab. Then we have this other lab on implementing a serverless architecture with AWS Lambda. That is what we're going to also be doing next week. Then we're going to talk about disaster recovery. There's a guided lab on creating a hybrid storage and data migration with AWS Storage Gateway, File Gateway. And I think that would actually end it all. Although there's this capstone project, very important. A capstone project is just going to help you like apply everything that you've learned. Okay, so I think we are moving on to this lab, creating a highly available environment. So if you want, you can do it along. If you're having access to the cloud architecting, or even if you don't have, but you have access to the learner lab, you can see whether you can be able to do it from the learner lab. But maybe the instructions will be not there for you, but you'll be able to see. So as obvious, I'll start the lab because I need to make it start provisioning resources. Then as it does that, we'll try to see what it's all about. So before I even get into a lot of detail, okay, let me just settle down here. Okay. So I'll not wait on it here, just let it go. Then I'll know when it has started deploying, when these 3 hours have started counting down. So as you can see, I'll not try to really read this part, but I'll try to explain it in a nutshell that most of this, all the different AWS services, according to how they've been deployed by AWS and the engineers at AWS, they are meant to be highly available. A good example are even the load balancers. You also even have the EC2 instances when you deploy them across multiple availability zones. By now, you should already know the difference between an AZ, a region, what else, an edge location. Those are part of what we call the AWS global infrastructure. So you realize something with this lab is that we are going to start with an application that is running on a single EC2 instance. Most people deploy it like that, but as a person who is going to become a solutions architect, you're not going to just make it so easy to deploy an application, but you're making it not highly available. You're not going to tell a client, let us just set it up on EC2 because that is what anybody can do. Let's run everything there. Let's put the DB there. Let's put the code there, and even everything running just from one single EC2 instance. So you need to make sure that certain, especially critical business applications, are highly available. Think of it like M-Pesa. If M-Pesa was just running on a single EC2 instance, you can imagine how much load that would be. So I'm sure how M-Pesa has been built and the infrastructure that it runs on, it has been configured or architected in a way that it is highly available for almost instantaneous kind of processing of a transaction. So at the end of the lab, you'll be able to inspect or provide a VPC that will have been provided or provisioned by the lab. When I clicked on Start Lab, it started creating those resources. And then you'll be able to create an application load balancer. There are different types of balancers. There's a network load balancer. There's the classic load balancer. So there's even, I think, a gateway load balancer. But for this case, you're looking at the application load balancer, which basically balances load at the application layer. So then you'll be able to create an auto-scaling group. An auto-scaling group is really a way for like more instances to be created, like duplicate instances to deal with demand. For example, you can have an auto-scaling group where you've said the minimum capacity is 1, the maximum capacity is 4, and the desired capacity is around 2 or something. So if you've done that, using something like maybe CloudWatch, will be able to change. It will be able to monitor maybe CPU load. And if the CPU load exceeds maybe a metric that you've set, like around 80%, it will now scale out. And once the load goes down, it will scale in and remove the instances that you don't need. And you'll test the application for high availability. So this is basically it. These are how the architecture will be. We're going to have these VPs. We are going to have a region. I see you're going to be having 2 availability zones, and then this VPC will be spanning the 2 availability zones, which is very important for high availability. Then you're going to have 2 public subnets and 2 private subnets. Within the first public subnet, you're going to be having this on this side. We're going to have a NAT gateway just to ensure that like requests are coming through and there's network address translation taking place. Within the application server will be running in a private subnet, meaning that you do not have direct access to the internet. Within that private subnet, you're still going to have an RDS DB instance. And then on this other side, you see you're also going to be having an application server. So it means that the auto-scaling group will also be spanning the 2 availability zones. And why do we do this? Well, basically for high availability. So in case all the resources related to AWS go down in this availability zone, think of it like US East 1A. If everything goes down in US East 1A, all that can be replicated or can just start running on US East 1B, right? So you can see you already have the full kind of system here. We have the NAT gateway, you have the application server, and this standby RDS will now will come in and take over if this one has gone down, the RDS DB instance, it will just switch and start working from this. So that is basically what high availability is all about. So always remember that every lab has lab restrictions, and very importantly, you should be able to do what I just did. Click on Start Lab. That is how I usually do it. Then start reading through. Don't click Start Lab and start watching it try to create the resources. So test 1 is for us to inspect the VPC. So you're not creating it, we're just looking at how it works for us to understand. So let us go on to the console. I'll click on that. Anything so far with regards to the lab? Have you understood what you are trying to do? Any question? Any question from anyone? Any question? Okay, I think silence means no question. So I'll just see whether I can take this. Whether this will work for me. It usually works better on my Mac. Let me see whether I'll be able to do something like this. Ah, good. I think it will work. Stop. But I don't know if I don't know whether I know the keyboard shortcut. What is the keyboard shortcut for this? Who knows? Is it Windows D? Okay, Windows D doesn't do anything. Windows tab. Windows tab is the one. Okay. Thank you. It's Windows tab. So let's start by inspecting the VPC. How will we do that? We're going to be able to see that you have a VPC, public subnet and private subnet. I've already mentioned all these. An internet gateway is not shown here, but you're going to have that. A NAT gateway in one of the public subnets. So these are the ones that have been already deployed, and also an Amazon RDS instance one in the private subnet. So these are how it starts out. Then we are going to be creating all the other things. So I'll go to VPC, the left navigation, I'll choose under filter by VPC, I'll select in the select VPC, select lab VPC. Setting this will limit the console to only show resources that are associated with the lab VPC. The left navigation, choose your VPCs. You'll access information about lab VPC was created for you. The IPv4 CDR column has a value of /16, which means it will include all addresses that start with 10.0.x.x. So I think let's get up to there. Okay, it's going on. Okay, this is the place. So let's go to VPC. It's here. I'm already seeing it here, but you can search it if you want. Let's go to VPCs. Oh, I'm supposed to select a VPC here. I'll choose lab VPC so that everything that is going to be now shown down here will only be related. All the resources within VPC are the only ones that are related to lab VPC. So that's what I've done. I go to your VPC and I go to lab VPC, and you can see it is selected. You can see it is already /16, meaning that it is 10.0.x.x. What else am I supposed to see here? I think I'll go to subnets. So you can see we are having the way according to the architecture is we have, let me just repeat again its name. So let's start with the public. So you can see we have public subnet 1 and public subnet 2. And you can see public subnet 1 is 10.0.0.0.0/24. And then public subnet 2 is 10.0.1.0/24. Do you see that the whole VPC is having /16? Then you're now moving to /24, which is a smaller subnet. And we're having two public subnets as such. For the private subnets, we're having, you can see private subnet 1 is at 10.0.2.0. So this helps just to make sure you know that this one and this one are on the same kind of a place according to the architecture. And then you can see private subnet 2 is at 10.0.4.0, and all these are /23/23. You can see the private subnets are at /23. Okay. What else was I supposed to tell you about this VPC? I think I've already mentioned this information. You can reveal more details by selecting. Then I go to route table. I'll go to public subnet 1. I'll show you the route table. I'll also choose the network ACL to show you what rules are there. So you can see, you'll be able to see that it just permits all traffic. And I think we'll have finished on the subnet. Let me just do that before we get to internet gateways. So I'm told to select any like public subnet 1. So the moment you select it, a number of options appear down here, right? So you can see all these are the tabs. You have the details, the flow logs, the route table, network ACL, CIDR reservations, sharing, and tags. So for this case, you're looking at the route table, and you can be able to see that anything that is going towards the destination, like it's coming into the what? Into the VPC, right? The target is coming locally, right, into the VPC. That is the first part of the route table, the public route table. And like resources can communicate with one another, right, locally. Then anything that is going towards the internet, because this one is like any IP, anywhere IPv4, you remember that, right? It's going to be taken, or anything, any traffic that is destined for the internet will be taken to the internet gateway, of which I can click here, or I can go to internet gateways here to just know more about these internet gateway, of which I think that's the next thing. But if you have any question, you can always unmute yourself and just ask. So I'll see that an internet gateway has already been associated. I think you've already seen that, but we'll see how it looks. So internet gateways, you don't really configure it. You just create one and associate it to your VPC. Doesn't have a lot of work because all the other configurations are done by AWS. So you can see, you just create, for example, I can just create another internet gateway, give it a name and just create it. You can see I don't configure anything. Then I'll associate it to a VPC. So you can see this one is the internet gateway called Lab IG. It has been attached, and it has been attached to the Lab VPC. You can see. So I think that is basically it. So that it doesn't have a lot of stories around it. Then we go to security groups. And what does security groups do? It's just like, think of it like a guardian. It helps you allow certain traffic to certain destinations, like traffic descent to a certain port, to a certain service, go to where exactly. And I think when you go to security groups, under security, you can see under security, there are two things. We have the network ACLs as well as the security groups. Security groups helps with regards to getting to know what can be done. So you can see under inventory DB, this security group called inventory DB. What is this description? You can see it will enable access to MySQL, I believe, which is access to the RDS instance, right? So let us analyze it a bit. Let me select that. So let's look at the inbound rules. So I can see the inbound rule is allowing anything that is coming from MySQL. You already know the default port is 3306. And if I say edit inbound rules, so you can see this is the rule ID, which is going to be just automatic, then custom, and you can see it is allowing anything that is coming from where? from 10.0.0/16. It is not allowing anything coming from the internet, right? That is the only inbound role that is there. And then you'll see under outbound, it's obviously usually the same. It's usually like it allows everything to go outside. You can see all traffic, all anything is allowed to just go out, right? And the destination is to the internet. So that is how usually the security group is usually configured most of the time. What else was I supposed to look at according to the lab, the guided lab? I think I've already shown you this. I've already shown you the outbound rules. By default, security groups allow all inbound. However, this setting can be modified as needed, right? Then you're now going to create an ALB, right? I usually just prefer calling it an ALB. So an ALB is one of the resources within AWS or the AWS service that is the first step towards creating a high availability application, right? So an application load balancer can span multiple AZs, and AZs are physically separate data centers. You can think of it like one is in Thika, and another one is maybe in Athi River, or maybe whichever other place you can think of. So one AZ can be like a Thika East 1, and maybe the other one can be Athi River East 2 or something. I'm just giving you an idea so that you get to know that they're physically separate from one another. So in case one data center, for example, like maybe let's say the Thika one goes down, you still have access to resources. Your application will still be reached through the resources that are found within the Athi River data center. So basically what you're going to do, you're going to oh sorry, damn. What have I just done? So we are going to create this application load balancer. All these were pre-created for us. So I'll go to services EC2, I'll create a load balancer. Under load balancer, I'll choose create. I'll call the balancer inventory LB. Under network mapping section. Then for VPC, I'll select the lab VPC. Be sure to choose lab VPC. It is likely not the default selection. So it now specify the subnets the load balancer should use. It will be a public load balancer. So you'll select both public subnets. Under mappings, I'll choose the first availability zone, then choose the public subnet that displays. Under the second availability zone, I'll choose the public subnet that displays, and you should now have selected public subnet 1 and public subnet 2. If not, go back and try the configuration again. And then I'll go to the security group section. I'll create a new security group. I think we can just pause it up until here. I'll create these once we get there. So let's see, I'm going to creating an ILB, give it a name, go to network mapping, I show you that, and I'll go to select this. So let's do that. So always remember that load balancers are found within the EC2 service. So I'll just go to EC2 management console, and you just scroll down in the left navigation pane. You can still find them here, but usually I don't know why we made it. We have okay, I have this habit of just using the left navigation pane because it already just makes me know, because most of the things are grouped. So I'll go to load balancers. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Okay, I hope you are hearing me. You can confirm in the chat. I might be talking to myself. Oh, good. Thank you, William, for confirming that you can hear me. You know, you might go on and on and on and on, and you're wondering, you might be talking to yourself. Maybe you left, or your network went down a long time ago. Okay, let me put my power. What's happening to my charge? Okay, good. think it's not still reacting. Good. It has finally decided to react. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do this. So you can see I don't have any load balancers. I'm in which region? North Virginia, I think, is US East, which is fine. I think we're in the right region. I'll click on create a load balancer. As I told you, there are different types. We have the ALB, the network load balancer, and the gateway. And you can see there's even the classic, which was deprecated. We stopped using this one. Really don't use it. So I'll go and create, but you can still take time and read what is there. I think this one, what are we supposed to call it? I think it was what LB? I've already forgotten. Inventory LB. Good. Inventory LB. Obviously, it is internet facing. It's not an internal one. IPv4, fine. Network mapping. You can see this VPC. You might not be sure whether it is the right one, so you choose that one. It is the right one. Under mappings, I'll obviously choose the first one. The moment I choose the first one, I'll choose the public subnet, right? And then I'll select the second one, and I'll select the public subnet, which is fine. And then security groups, I think I'll remove this and I create a new one. Let me just see. I think security group is done where we stopped at, right? Yeah, I'll create a new security group called inventory LB, which is enabling access to the load balancer. Inbound rules, I'll choose any HTTP anywhere IPv4. Outbound rules, add a rule and configure HTTPS. Wow. Why HTTPS? Anywhere IPv4. Let me just follow what they're saying. Please see if you're having an issue, I'm just going to put it to HTTP. So let's go back here. I'll create a new security group. It's going to open in a new tab. So again, you remember we are calling it inventory LB. Although this is not the LB itself, it is the security group. We're just calling it that so that so that we can know where it is associated with which resource. So you always click that X that is usually here, because most of the time you might not be using the default VPC, then choose the right one. And then under inbound rules, I've been told to put HTTP, which is, I believe, port 80. Yes. And I think it is anywhere IPv4. And then I'll add another rule. Is it outbound? Am I removing the all traffic? Let me see whether I'm removing the all traffic one first.
Inbound.
Oh, still under. Oh, good. This is correct. So it will allow all HTTP as well as HTTPS traffic. I was thinking that this one is an outbound rule. Okay, so all those are both inbound rules, which makes sense. So I'll add another rule, HTTPS. Obviously anywhere IPv4 because it is public facing. And I think with that we're done. Let's confirm if there's anything else we need to do. Create it, yes. Then we'll assign it to the load balancer. And then in the listeners and routing section, we'll create a target group. Target group is where to send traffic that comes into the load balancer. The application load balancer can send traffic to multiple target groups based upon the URL of the incoming request, such as having requests from mobile apps going to a different set of servers, and maybe a request coming from maybe computers going to another set of servers. For this, our web application only use one target group. So we're going to use a target group, very important, because target groups is the one that define basically where do I take this? Once the load balancer gets the traffic, where will it take it time? Well, where will it take it? So I think before I get to target groups, I'll create, then I'll assign this security group to the VPC to the what? To the load balancer. So I think we have created it. I'll go back to this without closing it. Remove the default security group. I'll refresh. And I think it is here, inventory LB. And then listeners and routing. So I'll create a target group. It will open in a new tab. I'll choose instances. I'll call it inventory app. Just select this. I'm feeling a bit lazy to type. And then VPC, I'll ensure that lab VPC is chosen. I'll scroll down and expand advanced health check settings. And see, we already know that LB automatically performs health checks on all instances to ensure that they are responding to requests. The default settings are recommended, but we'll make them slightly faster for use in this lab so that you can be able to see that happening. So the healthy threshold we'll put at 2. I'll put it at 2. The interval will be 10 seconds. This one is, you're going to make sure that the health check will be performed every 10 seconds. And if the instance responds correctly twice in a row, it will be considered healthy. If it doesn't, it will be considered unhealthy. Then next we'll choose register targets. The register target screen, the targets are the individual instances that will respond to requests in the load balancer. Do not have web application instances yet, so you'll skip this step. Then you'll review the settings and choose the target group. Good. So let's do that. So that is the best way to do your lab. As I already mentioned earlier, it helps you integrate and try to remember. So I remember I told you I am feeling lazy to type. I copied that. The VPC is that. I think the protocol and the port is fine. I believe we didn't need to do anything on that. I think that one was skipped. So health check protocol, I've been told to go to advanced. Healthy threshold, we'll put it at 2, right? Interval is the one that I'm changing to 10 seconds. I'll go to next. Register targets. We have not created the web application instance, so we are going to skip this part and create the target group. We're going to add the instances later. So the target group has been created. I think we can go back now to the load balancer. And then you're going to refresh this. Then I'll choose that one, right? Anything else? Let's see. The listeners and routing session, choose the refresh icon. Default actions to forward to the inventory app, scroll to the bottom and create the load balance, which is fine. Oh, I think this is what we've just done, right? Listeners and routing. So these are summary of what we've just done. We've started by giving it the name. We've said it is an internet-facing IPv4. The security group, we created that. We did a network mapping, right? VPC, the lab VPC, as well as the public subnets. Then we also did all the HTTP requests default to the inventory app target group, right? Yeah. So I'll create the load balancer. So it might take a bit of time. I'll just click on view. So here it is. No worries. When you come back, we can be able to come and just see actions. You can edit some of the things here. Yeah, so we now have the load balancer. What do we do next? We're now going to create an auto scaling group. So as you're creating this highly available environment, try to picture all the resources that you need so far. We've already mentioned about a load balancer, a target group, an auto scaling group, right? Which is the other thing that we're going to create. We're going to create an Amazon machine image, right? Which is going to be, think of it like the blueprint for starting up all the other instances, right? And then you're going to create another thing called a launch configuration, right? So once we do that, you'll be able to know that these are the things, or these are the resources I need for a highly available environment. And even when you get to maybe an interview, maybe you are about to get a job as an AWS or even a solutions architect, you'll be able to easily articulate what resources you require and why you require them. Why do you need a target group, right? So that, because that is where you want the load balancer to direct traffic, right? Why do you need an Amazon machine image or a machine image? So that it is going to be the blueprint for the load balancer to create new instances once it is required, right? Why do you need an auto scaling group, right? So all these things are the things that you also need to know. So let's go on. So where are we? Going to go to creating for auto scaling group. So it will help you just to launch and terminate instances automatically based on some policies, right? So you can see this is where you're going to create it, right? We have already created this application load balancer. So we are here and now be able to create this auto scaling group. So we're going to create an Amazon machine image from the existing web server 1. And this will save the contents of the boot disk so that new instances can be launched with identical content, right? So you're going to services, EC2 instance, EC2, then you go to instances. We wait until the service. Okay, what has happened here? Is there something that I've just, okay, I thought I'd skipped something because I don't remember us creating this web server. Maybe it has been created during the lab creation process. Actions, images, and templates. I'll create an image. Image will be web server AMI, lab AMI for web server. So I think this is the longer thing. I'll copy that one, the description. And then I'll create the image. Yeah, so let's do this. Then I create a launch configuration. Let's just finish up with the AMI, right? Which is pretty easy to create once you have your application. I mean your EC2 instance. So let's go to EC2. Under instances, I'll select this. And then I'll go to actions, images and templates. Am I creating an image or a template? Sorry.
Image.
Yeah, image, right?
Yeah.
These things can be confusing. Thanks for that. It's an image. So I'll create image. So, okay, I think I copied and I forgot It's called web server MI, right? Let me just check it again. the name. Just because I've come here, I'm not going to type it. What have I just done? Open the developer tools. Okay. The name is here. Lab server. I think, is there any other configuration that I need to do? Forgot them. Yeah, there's nothing else. Nothing else. So these ones, you just leave them default, then just create the image. So you can see the MI ID has appeared here. Don't know why Amazon have not realized that the blue and the green do not go well. So here it is. Let's go. I think now we are now forming the auto scaling group. Yes. So in the left, I'll go to launch configuration. I'll choose create. The name is going to be inventory launch configuration. You can see, I think the way you can see the lab is creating we are naming the resources. It helps us know whether it is a load balancer, whether it is a security group, whether it is a application, a web server, whichever it is. So this one is that, the web server AMI, the instance type is t3.micro. If you launch this lab in the US East one, select t2.micro. I think we are going to use t2.micro. So we're going to also use, we already know that the launch configuration requires an IAM instance profile. And role, as you can see, and this role was pre-created during the lab. You can even just go back and analyze it. So which you're going to do a bit. Then monitoring, enable detailed monitoring within CloudWatch, which will help us to react quickly to changing utilization. And then you're going to add this user data. As always, you already know what this user data really does most of the time. Installs SQL, as well as Amazon Linux extras. And downloads the lab files that are used for this inventory app just created within. Then unzip it, download and install the AWS SDK for PHP. And then you're going to turn on the web server. So this is basically a bash script which you're going to use. So I think I'll come copy it later because I think I copied something. What did I copy? I don't remember. I think I copied the inventory LC, right? So let's go to what? Let's go to launch configurations. So scroll down. Launch configuration is near the bottom. There are no, so you can create from here or here. I usually just click on the ones that are orange. I don't know why. AMI, we should have already created it, and it is here. Instance type, we are going to use the t2.micro because I think our US is to 1. So there are certain instances that cannot be launched in certain regions because maybe they are not available. You know, all these instance types have names according to, you can see this t2.2x 2 times large has 8 virtual CPUs and 32 GB of RAM, as well as some EBS storage. So we really don't need such a big instance to do our lab. We only need one with one virtual CPU as well as 1 GB of RAM. But you realize maybe for our customers' requirements, t2.micro might not be the best choice of the instance type. And each and every instance type has some cost to it. So you can always use the AWS pricing calculator to see if you launch certain services, how much will it cost the user or your client at the end of each and every month, so that they already can estimate beforehand how much it will cost them. So always have that in mind. So I think additional configuration, I can see inventory app role. As I already told you, let's just go to IAM and open IAM here. I'll open it in a new tab. Let's go and look at what this inventory app role does. It's not, always be curious, right? Be curious. I know there are going to be a lot of errors because these are lab profiles. So you can see I've already seen, I'll see that I'll not be able to see. I'll go to roles. What have I just done? Have I clicked KMS? Then let's go back to IAM. Okay, this is interesting. So let's go, there are 17 roles here, but I'll just click here. And I'll look for inventory. You can see it has already been. So if I look at it, so you can see I told you I'm going to get a number of errors because I'm not even supposed to be here. So these are JSON for it. So you can see it is going to be action, SSM, the resource is allow, right? So what is SSM, right? So you can even just decide to Google AWS SSM. You can see that. Systems Manager Agent, right? AWS Systems Manager Agent. It is an Amazon software that runs on AC2, Edge services, what. So you can even just look at the documentation, but it is really going to be allowing it's going to allow the what? What are we creating? The launch configuration to create instances, right? So I can see trust relationships. You can see allow principal ec2.amazon to be able to also using STS secure tokens service to assume the role. That is the trust relationships. So that is basically it. And you can see it was created during the lab creation process. Okay, so I think I've analyzed it. If that is how you do it, most of the time it's the policy. So you can see these are customer inline policy. It means that there are different types of policies. You have the inline, customer inline, you have the AWS managed. So I think if you've already gone through your IAM, you should be able to understand the different types of policies. So I think we've analyzed that, which is fine. Let's go back. We'll enable detailed monitoring so that it can quickly react to the different changes in utilization. I think this one, you can't change anything here. The EBS is going to be 8 GB. What about security group? Don't think we are doing anything with it. We're not dealing with it. So I can now safely copy this. Oh, okay. I think I'm already seeing security group somewhere. Advanced details is where I'll add the user data. Under security groups, I'll select an existing inventory app. So I'll get a warning that I'll not be able to connect, which is fine. I'll proceed without a key pair and I'll select I acknowledge, then I'll create the launch configuration and I'll be able to see that. Then from the actions, I'll be able to now choose the create auto scaling group. For the security auto scaling group, I'll now call it that. Okay, let's now start on the auto scaling group. Let's finish up with the launch configuration. Okay. So I think I'll need to just, okay, there's the advanced details. Where is that advanced details?
Go to the,
yeah. Is it that it's this one, right?
yeah, in the
Yeah,
text
it
part,
is.
you
This
paste,
is part, right? User data.
yeah, you
So I
paste.
think I've put, yeah, good. Thanks for that. So this is where I've put the user data. I already explained it. So you basically know what you're doing. Why are you putting it there? So that anytime a new instance is being launched, those commands will run. It's not going to be an empty EC2 instance. I'll choose proceed without a key pair because we don't need to connect them to them directly because they are being accessed by the ALB, right? So you're not accessing any of the instances directly. So I'll acknowledge.
Also security groups.
Oh, yep.
Select
Yeah.
and exist.
I think I need to select which one.
For the EC2 is the enable web access inventory. Inventory app.
Inventory app, right?
I think so. That's the.
let's confirm it. Let's just confirm it to be sure, because the moment we mess up, we'll have to repeat. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, it's inventory app. Thanks for that. It's inventory app. Okay, I think we are ready to click create. Always remember, don't jump to click this icon. Always before you go to clicking on it, just scroll up. Review all the things that you've done. You've given it a name. You've chosen the AMI. You've confirmed the instance type. You are sure that you don't need for spot instances, but sometimes it can be better. It usually helps in saving costs. You can request spot instances. So spot instances are basically instances that can come up. You use them, then they're not really yours, right? Think of it like when you go and so maybe let's say KFC. That seat that you're sitting on, as long as you're done, it's not yours. You're just there on that spot, then you're going to get out, right? So those are the kind of instances that there are usually those types of instances within AWS called spot instances. So they usually help in saving costs. They're usually much cheaper than the normal EC2 instances. So you can always use that if, and it also depends on the type of application, right? So EBS optimized, I think we're not dealing with that. Advanced details, all these we are not dealing with it. The kernel ID, you can just the RAM disk ID, metadata, and all that. So user data, we put it as a text. We typed it, we not typed it, we pasted it there. I think this one was the default. You should only assign public IP addresses to instances launched in the subnet without auto assign public IP enabled. So you can always create an subnet where auto assign public IP is enabled, and then obviously the EC2 instances will also be assigned a public IP. But I don't think, since you're not accessing the EC2 instances directly, I'm sure maybe we'll check whether this inventory app has auto assign public IP enabled. So let's create the launch configuration. So there it is. Here it is. I think now we are going to go to what? There was now going to go to this is auto scaling group, right? Yeah. Launch. Yeah. Now we're going to go to, I'll select the launch configuration and use it to create an auto scaling group. SG stands for auto scaling group. I think by now we already know that. I'm going to go to next. Under network, we're going to choose the lab VPC and realize what has happened here. We are now using the private subnet and the private subnet 1 and private subnet 2. But when you are creating the load balancer, you remember you are using what? The public subnets, right? The public subnet 1 and public subnet 2. So always remember that. It's very important. And then choose next. We are going to do that. Obviously, after we give it the name, we're going to deal with the VPC with private subnet. Then load balancing will say attached to an existing load balancer, which is obviously the inventory app which we created. Then under health checks, we'll configure the health check type will be ELB, and then the health check grace period will be 90. And then will enable group metrics collection within CloudWatch. I think let's reach there. I think I'm feeling that that's a lot to handle. Okay, so select the launch configuration, go to actions, and then you see create an auto-scaling group. I think I copied the name, hopefully. Paste, good, I copied it. Launch configuration. I think it's fine, it's the only one that is there. You go to next. The VPC, always you can see this one is the default. So just choose the right one, which is the lab VPC. Then as is, you're using the private ones, the private subnet 1, and the private subnet 2. Be sure don't click on the public ones, right? Then you're going to do that. You're going to attach to an existing load balancer. So you can see that because it created the target group, you can see you have that. The period that's 300 seconds is a lot. Let's go to 90. We'll enable group metrics collection within our CloudWatch. I don't think we're dealing with that one. I've not seen something like instance warm up. Now we can go to now this, which I said it was a lot to handle. So we're going to, the desired capacity is 2, the minimum capacity is 2, and the maximum capacity is 2. But most of the time, usually don't put it like this. You might say the desired capacity is 2, the minimum capacity, okay, is 2, yes, but the maximum capacity can be a bit higher, right? You can put it around 4 or something. So these are the number of instances that can be up. So for this lab, you will maintain 2 instances at all time to ensure high availability. If the application is expected to receive varying loads of traffic, you can create scaling policies that then define when to launch and terminate instances. However, you do not need to create scaling policies for inventory application in these labs. So we are not going to use the scaling policy. So just going to choose none. Where are we? So I'll just do 222, and then I'll go to none on scaling policies. And then on the add notification, choose next, because you do not need to configure any of these settings, but sometimes you can use SNS so that you can get an email when something has happened or something. So then you can add tags. Obviously, it's going to be inventory app. Next. So it's very important to to use tags. It helps, tagging resources helps you to see the costs. On the review page, choose create auto scaling group, and you can see that. So let's see. Let's jump on to this. 222, 222. This is fine. Scaling policies at none. Then you go to next. Notification, you said you're not doing the configuring one. Tags, you're giving it a name. And the value is that. So it's going to also tag the new instances under the same. Then I think we can review. You can always review that. Then you can create. So let it create. Let it create. I think this is taking a bit longer than normal, but it's fine. So you can see it is updating capacity. Good. So where are we with the lab? So we'll update the security groups. In this application, we deployed a 3-tier architecture. We have the load balancer security group. We have the application security group, and we also have the database security group. You'll now configure the security groups to enforce these 3 tiers. application security group to only accept incoming traffic from the load balancer, right? So you need to enforce that on the ASG. Let me do this fast. Let me just give me a minute. I'm back. So where were we? I'm now enforcing the security groups. I mean, I'm reconfiguring the security groups to enforce the 3 tiers. So I'm going to go to the ASG, and the one that is the SG security group is the SG group. The application security group is inventory app. I'll edit the inbound rules, and then I'll choose HTTP custom, and I'll say, okay, they want me to type this, but it's fine. Then I'll choose save rules. That's nice. So let's do that. Security groups. Inventory app. Inbound rules. Editing the inbound rules. Doesn't have. Okay.
It's there.
It doesn't have a security. I mean, it didn't have an inbound rule at first.
No, it didn't have.
Oh,
Now we
okay.
have
Maybe
the
it was.
HTTP.
It only had the outbound rule. Yeah, I was wondering how can somebody create a security group without inbound rules? That is what it's the way our mind really works. I was wondering how was this SG created without that? So which is the TCP type? Is it custom TCP? Are we using HTTP or what? Forgot.
HTTP.
Okay, good.
HTTP.
Thanks for that. So we are targeting this load balancer. So you just type SG and you're going to use, I think, is it LB? You're using inventory LB, right? Yeah. Inventory LB, SG, inventory LB, which is the load balancer. The description, although it is optional, let's just follow the lab traffic from the load balancer. So that's done. Let's reconfigure. I think we are also configuring one more. The DB security group, edit inbound, add rule, MySQL, Aurora, so that it is going to be from the inventory app. Oh, so what happens is, for this DB security group, it's going to get traffic from where? From the ASG. Do you see that? So that is where you can see we are targeting the SG. Good, fine. Always be careful. In a real life scenario, you can configure these things and they can blow your mind off. You'll be wondering what is going on. I've ever gone to a certain place. The security groups was stressing them until they just decide they make them as if they're useless. Inbound rules allow all traffic, outbound rules allow all traffic, because they couldn't understand what they were doing. So always be very careful with what you're doing on the security groups. It can mess access to your resources if you're not understanding what you're doing. So we are in the DB, right? So inventory DB, I'll unselect this, then I select this, then I'll edit its inbound rules. So you can see it was targeting that IP. So I'll type SG. Then I think here I'm using now what? Inventory app, right? The what? You may not specify. Oh yeah, I forgot this. I need to just delete that one. I'll add role and then I'll choose SG inventory app. Did there something? Oh yeah, I think there's that traffic from application servers. Then I'll see. Okay, I think it has worked. Let's go to the guidelines. You have now configured 3-tier security, which you should have already seen. What did I do? For the first one, the load balancer, it accepts all incoming and HTTP and HTTPS. So there's no issue of it. There's no issue about it. The load balancer has been configured to forward all incoming requests to a target group. When auto scaling launches new instances, it automatically add those instances to the target group. So what we did is under the inventory app SG, we ensured that it is only going to get traffic from the load balancer. Then we configured that inventory DB security group to only get incoming MySQL traffic from the inventory app security group. So in that way, you're going to have a foolproof kind of a security such that the DB cannot be accessed directly from the internet, right? And even maybe the application servers cannot be directly accessed from the internet. Like there's no shortcut or a panya route, if I can call it something like that. So I think we're now going to test the application. The left-hand navigation, go to target groups. The inventory app group of instances will be displayed. Select inventory app. On the lower half of the page, choose the targets tab. The tab should show you 2 registered targets. The status column should show the results of the load balancer health check that is performed against the instances. In the registered targets area, occasionally choose the refresh until the status of both appears as healthy. If this does not eventually change to healthy, ask your educator, okay, me, for help in diagnosing the configuration. But I'm hopeful that since I was the one who is doing it, I've not made a mistake. But it's going to be pretty crazy to diagnose this configuration if you made a mistake, especially on the security groups that I said. So you test by the application by connecting to the load balancer, which will then again send a request to one of the EC2 instances. You'll first need to retrieve the DNS of the load balancer. Okay, I think let's start by doing this first part. Target groups, then inventory app, then we see the targets. Good. Scroll down, get to the target groups. You're looking for inventory app. It is the only one. Under targets, you can see the 2. The health status is healthy, right? No issues about that. Under health checks, being able to see 2 consecutive. This is how it's going to be monitoring. I think this is where you connect to the CloudWatch metrics and you can be able to see there's no unhealthy host was around 2 at some time. Then it went from 0 to 2. So they were unhealthy at first, then they became healthy. Okay, did I miss anything that we need to look at? You should have needed? You're looking for the DNS name for? Been really cold. I'm having a runny nose. Okay, that is why I've not even done my video today. That was like deliberate. Okay. looking for the DNS, right? You get the DNS for the ALB. Then you're going to put it on a browser. So it's usually used as a round robin. That is why the instance ID will change. It will be switching between the two instances. The information is to the application load balancer, then to the application servers. Yeah, so I think this is basically testing access. Don't need to go through all that. You already understand the process. So let's go to the load balancers. This is the DNS name, the A record. You can even configure it to go to a certain good website, like maybe let's say williamminer.com. Then it is pointing to this load balancer. So, but since this is a lab, we don't have time and resources for that. We're going to go directly. So you can see this page was generated by instance that. So if I refresh, you see this number change. This one ends with 8A. Do you see F9? I think it's going to go back to 8A. 8A, F9, 8A, F9. So you can see the load balancer works on a round robin. It can take traffic this time to this instance. The other time it can take it to the second instance. If you had like 5 instances, you could see the different there. Okay, what else was I supposed to do? I'm going to test for high availability. Good, I remember. So I'll go to the EC2 console tab. We're not going to close that. We'll return to it. The left choose instances. You'll now terminate one of the application instances to simulate failure. Select one of the inventory app instances. Does not matter which ones you select. Terminate instance, choose terminate. In a short time, the load balancer health checks will notice that the instance is not responding. The load balancer will automatically route all requests to the remaining instance. Return to the web application tab in a browser, reload the page several times. You should notice that the availability zone that is at the bottom says the same. Though an instance failed, the application remains available. After a few minutes, the Amazon EC2 auto scaling will also notice the instance failure, and also since it is configured to keep 2 instances running, it will obviously use the AMI and the launch, and as well as the image to launch a replacement instance. Then you're going to return to the EC2 console tab, where you have the instances list displayed. Choose the refresh icon so that until you see that there are new EC2 instances occurred. This does demonstrate that your application is now highly available, which is very interesting. I usually love doing things trying to break things so that you can see whether they can really work. So there was a time when I was ever told terminate, or I usually was very scared of terminating instances because you never know what would happen. But once I came to learn, I can even terminate this web server one because once you have created an image from it, you do not need it again. So that can leave it there. I saw a meme. I don't know whether you saw a certain meme. Somebody asked, why did you lose your money? Did you lose your money to gambling or anything? Then the person was answering, I left an EC2 instance on. So you can imagine people are usually scared of leaving the EC2 instances on. So let's choose any. I've chosen the first one, but I can even choose the second one. Do you remember it was 8A and F9? And then I go to terminate instance. Terminate. What was I supposed to do? I think I needed to go to which part after I terminate? Who remembers? After I terminate. Oh yeah, I'll go to refresh and I can see it's going on only one. EC2 console. I can even check on the unhealthiness of it under the load balancer. I know, is it the load balancer or no? It's not the load balancer. It's the auto scaling group. Nope. Yeah, it is target group, sorry. So you can see it was healthy, 2 of them unhealthy. So if I refresh and I select that, health checks, okay, targets. So if I refresh, do you see the other one has disappeared, right? You go to details, you can see only one total targets under the target group. There's only one which is healthy. If I go to here and I refresh, you see it is not changing. It's only the F9 that is there, but still you can get access to the application. But auto scaling group will now realize something. To realize something has happened, and then it will start creating a new instance. You can see under activity. Okay.
Check in
Monitoring.
the instances.
I go to?
Instances.
I go to, yeah, I'll go to the instances. I just wanted to see whether under the auto-scaling groups, I'll be able to see how it is it has realized that there's an issue. And then it has tried, I thought there's a place where I can see events. Yeah, this is where I wanted to show you. You can see, this was the first part. An instance was taken out of service in response to an EC2 health check, indicating it has been terminated or stopped. When I terminated that instance, you can see at this time, an instance was launched in response to an unhealthy instance needing to be replaced, and that process was successful. Do you see that? So you can be able to see what has just happened within an auto-scaling group and activity. And obviously, when you go to instances, you can see, although when something is terminated, okay, no, let me not say something. Something is a layman language. When an EC2 instance has been terminated, it still appears here, usually because of how AWS really works. The process of removing it out of the system usually takes a bit of time, but you'll still see what you've just terminated for quite a while. Maybe after an hour or so is when you're not going to see it ever again here. But you can see we deleted it, but now we have this one with a 33, right? And when I refresh, do you see the one that at 33 is now the one that has responded to my request, the F9, the 33. So anytime I refresh, I'm sending out a HTTP request. So I think that is basically it. Let's go to what? Let's do this optional task, right? I think we still have a bit of time. I don't know whether the people from CF are around. I'm not seeing any. I'm okay. Even if they're there, they're still also learning. So we can go on. I can see Christopher is here. I can see Uni is coming through. Okay, so I can see the CF guys are coming through. So let's finish up with this optional task to make the DB highly available. So again, obviously, to make the DB highly available is to do what? Is to create a standby multi-AZ RDS. You can see that. So you're going to go to services, you're going to the RDS, again, going to choose databases, choose the link for the name inventory DB instance. Feel free to explore in information. I'm not going to do much of that because of time. Then you're going to modify, scroll down to availability and durability section. For multi-AZ deployment, you'll tick on it to create a standby instance. You only need to reconfigure this one setting to convert the database to run across multiple data centers AZs. This option does not mean that the database is distributed across multiple instances. Instead, only one instance is the primary instance, which handles all requests, and another instance will be launched as a standby instance, which takes over in case the primary instance fails. So it does not make the database distributed. Your application continues to use the same DNS name for the DB, However, the connections will automatically redirect the currently active database server. You can scale an EC2 instance by changing attributes. You can also scale an RDS instance this way. You'll now scale up the DB. So I'll scroll back to, and the DB instance, select DB T3.small. This action doubles the size of your instance. For allocated storage, I'll enter 10, which will double the amount of space allocated to the DB, but do not change any other settings. I'll go to continue. Under scheduling of modification, obviously say apply immediately. I'll choose modify. Wow, there's another optional task. Okay, let's finish up with that one. Okay, we go to RDS. And see it is here under my shortcuts. You can also always configure these shortcuts according to the things you want to access very fast instead of searching for them. I can already see this 1 DB here. You can just go to the left navigation pane and choose databases. I'll select inventory DB. I'll modify that. Remember, okay, before I modify, let's note something here. It is dbt3.micro, right? I think I'm going to make it t2.micro if I'm not wrong. So always remember that it's a best practice not to have the database within the EC2 instance. You can run it as within RDS, but remember RDS has a cost. It has a cost on its own. So always remember that. So availability, as I said, it's only 1 click away to make it more highly available. So I'll just change from do not create to create. We are going to scroll back up, make the allocated storage from 5 to 10 GB. Oh, sorry, 10 GB. dbt3.micro. Let me just confirm. I don't remember. Anyone who remembers what it was supposed to be?
Small.
It was t3.small, right?
Small, yeah.
T3.small. Yeah, sure. This one. You can see currently T3.micro has 2 virtual CPUs, 1 GB of RAM, and a network throughput of 2085 Mbps. So I think T3.small doubles the RAM. It only doubles the RAM from 1 GB to 2 GB. So that is how you analyze those properties. So look at that, T3.small. I think, is there anything else I'm supposed to change?
Storage.
Not.
Have you added storage?
Yes, I've changed the storage from 5 to 10 GB. The minimum value is 5, and I've doubled it to 10. So there are all these others, but since I think there's a lab on databases, I'm not going to go into details of what each and every of these configuration really does. I don't think I've missed anything, right? I'll just click on continue. Yeah, so you don't always try to see whether you can apply it immediately. If you say apply to the next current scheduled maintenance window, you can see that will happen at around 6:42 AM. I think we're past that time anyway. Or this is the current maintenance window. So it
goes according to the settings.
Yes. So you can, yeah,
according
so you can see the current maintenance
one,
window. Yes.
I think
Go
that
on.
time it goes according to the initial database you had, because you had the settings to choose when you can choose maintenance.
Exactly. So I think when it was being created
had an option
by
to
the
choose
lab,
the maintenance
this was the
time.
maintenance window that had been set up. So it means that if I want to do it within the next maintenance window, it's going to be
that time provided.
Yeah. And November, I think November 25th. Anyway, that's so far ahead. So apply immediately. Potential performance impact on converting to multiple AZ. Your DB can experience significant performance impact. And after converting to multi-AZ, The impact is greater on DB instance with large amounts of storage and write-intensive workloads. We don't recommend this conversion on our production. So yes, so what happens is, what this statement is really saying is, if your DB has already gone into production, it can be affected in terms of performance when you're converting it. So if you're deciding to make a DB and you want it to span multiple availability zones, it's better you do it when it is under development or testing, when you're creating the DB. But again, you're going to ignore that because there's a lab. So that is what is going to happen. So where do we check that the other DB has been created? I'm challenging you guys. Where do you check it? I think it's going to appear here, right? Still here, but under, I think it's going to have another, like you're going to have the plus sign. So you can see it is still modifying, but I think we're not going to wait on that. We can go to the other optional task. Configuring a highly available NAT gateway. So the application server run in the private subnet. If the servers must access the internet, for example, to download data, the request must be redirected through the NAT gateway, and the NAT gateway must be located in the public subnet. The current architecture only has one NAT gateway in public subnet 1. Thus, if availability zone 1 fails, the application server will not be able to communicate with the internet, right? So you can see it is there. So I think we're about to create another NAT gateway on this other availability zone. So you can make a NAT gateway available by launching another NAT gateway in the other availability zone. The resulting architecture will become highly available. So services, NAT VPC, NAT gateway, create a NAT gateway, choose it public subnet 2, allocate an elastic IP, choose create NAT gateway. You now create a new route table for private subnet 2, such that this route table will redirect traffic to the new NAT gateway. The left navigation. Okay, I think this is quite a lot. Let's just get to this part. Let's just get to that part. Okay. So let's go to VPC. VPC. I think let me just leave it here. Let me just use another tab. And I choose VPC on this tab. Okay. Aha. So I'll go to NAT gateways. I'm starting to feel tired, and I've not done the other class, but I'll try my best to finish. The good thing is the CF lab, I think, for those who are here for CF labs are not as crazy as these ones, so don't worry. So I'll create a NAT gateway. So did they give a name? Who saw the name for me? I'm so. They didn't give a name, but let me just call it NAT gateway 2 or something. Just so it's optional, I can even leave it. Is it public subnet 2? Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's public subnet 2, right? Yeah. So allocate elastic IP, then I'll create. Good. Allocate elastic IP. So it will just create an elastic IP address. This is the elastic IP address, and it's going to allocate it there. Additional settings not needed. Are we tagging the resource? Not really. But it's important. If you want to, you can tag the resource. Create NAT gateway. Route tables. What do you need to do with route tables? Choose add a route. The destination is to the internet, and the target is select NAT gateway. NAT hyphen that is not entry. That is not entry for NAT gateway 1, which is under details. Then select NAT entry that is not the entry of NAT gateway 1. Good. The NAT gateway is listed under the details and Then I'm going to now also change the subnet associations. After we change the route, we're going to change the subnet associations. Then we're going to associate it with the private subnet too. And then this action will now send internet-bound traffic from private subnet 2 to the NAT gateway that is in the same availability zone. And now my NAT gateways will now become highly available. Let's see that. Let's see that. Let's see. So I'm editing each route table. I'll just add another route. Table. Private route table too. So routes are just, it's like creating a road. It's all about creating a road on your resources. Think of it like a homestead. Love VPC, and then you create. And then after we create it, we go to routes, we edit the routes, and then we add a route for internet. To go to the NAT, I'll search NAT hyphen. Wow, how will I know? How will I know? Damn, I messed myself up. I have to get to know the NAT ID. I'll have to know the NAT ID. So which is which? Which is the one? I think let's look at the one we created more recently. I think this is this one, right? 947. This is the one. The one with 998. 998. Good. This one. Save changes. I think I've sorted that out. Subnet associations. I'll edit the subnet associations. Which private subnet? I think it's private subnet 2, right? Then you're going to save that association. Are you testing that out really? Yeah, I think we have done it. So I think we'll just submit. Let's see whether we did something important in this life since 8 a.m. Yes, let's submit. So I even asked AWS to look at how Cloud Foundation's course can have such a feature so that you, even as you do your lab, you'll be able to see this. So they said it's something that they'll look at. The AWS Academy technical team will be able to see whether we can have this feature also in Cloud Foundations. Okay, so the report, we are waiting also for the report. I think that was a crazy lab, so the report might take a bit of time, but here it is. They found that. I got 70 out of 75. What happened? What did I miss? The application is not reachable. Is the load balancer what? There's something we did. So you can see. You got also 72. Okay, William. The problem, the application is not reachable. Is the load balancer working? Is the load balancer working? Submit your. Let's see whether the application is even reachable for ourselves. I think that is the testing that you should have done. Maybe when we did that, let's see. But it is reachable. It is reachable. Or is it okay? This is still going on to F9. Or what has happened? You only see it is not a reachable. Or there's something that they told us that we didn't change. Out tables. I think the issue is that NAT gateway. These are NAT gateway that we created, right? So actions. I think there's no issue with the NAT gateway. Let's go to the security groups. Inventory app, right? This is the security group that we are interested in. Let's edit the inbound. The inbound rules are the ones of our interest. So I think we did. You remember when we did the three tier kind of thing? Are they sure that there's no issue? There's an issue with reaching the resources. Let's look at the inventory LB. Let's look at our architecture also, inbound rules. So it's allowing HTTP and HTTP traffic from all, which is, this one has no issue. This one has no issue. So the issue might be under, let's see, inventory DB. So, but the report is that the application is not being reached. So, and it is private subnet 1. Okay, let's see. Let me edit this in one rule so that I understand it. So it's going to the 2DD. Let's see what is the 2DD. 2DD SG hyphen 2DD is inventory app. Inventory app. Oh, it might be, the issue might be the DB, the what? The RDS had not finished modifying. Let me just take it back. Let me just cancel these changes. Where's the RDS? Did I close the RDS? You can see multi-AZ, no. Oh yeah, you can see it is still modifying. Let me refresh. That might be the issue. That might be the issue. Yes, I think that should be the issue about the reachability, because the moment we created the multi-AZ, it changed from the status from being active. And that is why I think the application cannot be reached, because it also depends on this DB, right? So that might be the real issue why we are, because I think it's going to take a bit of time before it creates. And you can see, I think we got the warning that is going to affect the performance of something on a production DB, which makes sense, because I think this is going to take a bit of time to deploy it within the other AZ, right? So, which is in the other data center. And remember, we doubled the size. We also doubled the RAM. So this is going to take a bit of time. And I think that is the reason why. I think I'll talk to them and see what, because how long will you wait for this? I think they need to change that because I don't think it's going to finish today. And I don't think I have, these are guided lab, it's not a learner lab. So I cannot wait and see whether it's going to really work. Let's go to logs and events. So it finished applying the modification. At 9:48. It finished applying. Okay, let's go to page 2. So it's finished applying the modification to convert to multi-AZ DB instance at 9:52. That was around like 6 minutes ago. Okay. Is it still modifying? It is still modifying. So it is under which security group, which is the inventory DB, which is fine. It is reachable. Subnets. It is the 683 and 5444. 683 and 5444, which is which one? 683 and 5444. Private subnet 1. This is the 683 one. And private subnet 2. Yes. Doesn't have an issue. The issue is this modifying. See. Let me try something. Do this. I go to its DNS. Where is its public? Does it have a public DNS? Does it have an endpoint? So the endpoint, the database is called what? Pretty sure it's called inventory DB. Yeah, maybe it's called this. So the issue will be the username and the password. Where will we get it? Let's see. Configuration. The DB name is inventory. Okay. The other thing is the username and the password, which I think I'll get. The username is admin, so it might be admin. Not sure. Admin. Let me see whether it is under KMS. Or is it on the secret? Is it KMS or secrets manager? Secrets manager. Let's see whether it's under the secrets. Okay, let's see. Under the customer management keys. Okay, I'm not even supposed to be here. That is where you can see all these errors. Let's go to the secrets manager. If I can configure the DB to access, what I'm just trying to do is see whether I can configure. And there are no secrets. So do I start going? Where will I see the password? I thought this password was stored in Let me just be crazy and try that. You can see the way it's hanging. It means that it can't access. It is still modifying. A storage optimization. Damn, it is at storage optimization stage. I think maybe we can as we can wait on it, as we wait on it. Have others in the class? Have others joined the class? Let me just check. Where is my controls? Where are my controls? Can't even see my controls to see. Yeah, there are my controls. Okay, I think we have Chris, we have Unia. I think we have also Festus. So I think it will be prudent that I check. So I think
it's working now.
It's now working.
When you submit now the details,
you
submit the marks.
I tried to submit. Let me see.
Yeah.
You also trying it yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's see. Let's wait for the report. Yeah, so I think the issue was that DB. The DB was taking time to be deployed into the other availability zone. The application is not reachable. Yours worked?
Yes.
Oh, so you got to 75.
Yeah.
Check the security group configuration. Review at the end. Review the end of task 6 to ensure that 2 LT instances are working. The application is not reachable. I think there's an issue with mine, but I think since if yours is working, it means maybe there's something I changed because I moved a bit fast. But I think 70 out of 75 for me is not a big issue. So I think I'll go to end lab, right? So maybe yours finished, mine had not finished. Let me see. Let me check on mine. But he's saying the application is not reachable. The application is not reachable, right? Okay. So if the application is not reachable, it's an issue with security groups. Maybe you can check for me. Is it William? You can check for me your inventory app settings. Just confirm against mine. What are your inbound rules? Mine is going to 775A. What is 775A? SG.
HTTP 80.
Confirm which is security group you are changing to, because I think inventory app should go to the load balancer, right? All the traffic coming in. Is it coming in? Yes. It should be coming in from the load balancer, right? Coming in through the load balancer. That's why you can see it's even writing here traffic from the load balancer. So if that is the case, I'll check the inventory LB, right? I'll check the security group for inventory LB. Where is it? Here it is. Let me open it. Check for me. I think it's fine. IPv4 source. Inbound rules are fine. outbound rules are obviously a no-brainer because it is all. So where is the reachability issue coming in? Is it the DB? Let's look at the DB security group. The DB should come from the inventory app. Oh, that is where the issue is. This is the outbound rules, which is fine. I'm talking about the inbound rules. Inbound rules. I want the inbound rules. 2DD. What is 2DD? 2DD is inventory app, which is correct. So there's no issue with reachability from the security groups. The issue is these RDS. How long will mine do storage optimization? How long will you do storage optimization, my friend? How long? And I cannot go to another lab without you finishing this lab. So, okay. They should raise this a lab. Don't do everything. There's their part to do storage. I think that changing it from 5 GB to 10 GB is the one that had an issue. I'm so curious. I'd like to wait until it becomes active so that we see. So since that is the end of the lab, I'll keep an eye on it. Then I'll just switch. I'll switch to the CF lab. What is this? What the hell? Okay, but I can't switch without submitting. Is the load balancer using the public subnets? Okay, that's a good question to answer. Is the load balancer using public subnets? Let's confirm that. Is the load balancer using public subnets? Let's go to EC2. Is the load balancer using public subnets? Go to load balancers. Subnet is using A1 and F6. A1, okay, let me just edit subnets. Yeah, so you can see it is using the public subnets, public subnet 1 and public subnet 2. So that question has been answered, yes, which is, the answer is yes. So let's open, you can see, oh, there's a gateway timeout. Okay. I think this timeout is when you are trying to save the settings. Let's try to refresh and resend. You just open this. Here's the DNS. That is how real life issues become tricky when it gets to this. I really don't know where I messed up with regards to my configuration. But maybe I'll try to redo the whole lab again and see where I messed up. So you can see it's timing out. The load balancer is timing out. And if the load balancer is timing out, that is a security group issue. So what will I do? This is how you do some troubleshooting and make life easy for yourself. Let me show you, because these are real life scenario that usually happens. You go to security groups. So which security group is the load balancer using? It is using this one. Let me just go to this. Just jump directly to it and make it a bit more. So it is on 775A, right? What about outbound? But it is a no-brainer. It is working well. HTTP. Okay, it might be the issue now is once it redirects the traffic to go.
Outbound
Yes.
for load.
Yes.
Outbound for load balancer should be all. Let me see
Yes, the outbound is
outbound.
fine. You can see it is all, right?
Yeah.
So I think the issue is now once the load balancer has received the traffic from the internet, when it is sending it to the instances, right? To the target group or whatever. So let's go to the next place, which is also, I think that it's this one. This must be the culprit security group. So all traffic, all outbound is a no-brainer. So no issue about that. And this must be the one. So I'll add a rule, do HTTP. I think this is where I messed up. And then it was 10.0.0./16, right? The VPC, right? Then I'll save the changes. Let's see. Was it /16? 10.0.0.0/16? Our VPC. Okay, I can check here.
Yeah.
It was /16, right?
Yes.
You can see this inventory, the DNS is not working. Okay, let's see. Is that VPC? So I've already added that inbound rule.
Inbound rule should be 1, I think.
It shouldn't be 2, right?
Yeah.
So let's see and delete this other one. This other one that you are putting on the 3-tier kind of security setup. Let's see.
I think it should be accepting the traffic from the load balancer.
Yeah, that is how it should. I was actually set it up. It was SG from the inventory LB, right? Which is this one, right?
Balancer. Yeah. That one.
So what I did, since I couldn't change it like that, I deleted this rule. I added one, and then obviously I think the issue was HTTP, right?
HTTP.
Yeah, that one could have been the issue. Then custom.
SG.
Then I do SG hyphen. Then I'll choose the inventory LB, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see whether that will work now. Let me close this tab and open a new one. Let's go to the load balancers. And we go to the DNS. We just opened. So you can see the load balancer is not getting, it is not getting to the instances. Are the instances on? Yeah, I believe they are. Damn. How many of these instances have been terminated? So there's this one. Yeah, I think the target group. What did you modify under the target groups? Is there anything we modified? No. As you can see, there are no healthy instances. There are no healthy instances. That is the other issue. Unhealthy. Request timed out. Yeah, that's the other issue. My instances are not healthy. So what I'll go to, I'll check on the auto scaling groups. That is where the issue is. Requests are timing out. Activity. So you can see it is recreating, terminating because of the issue of unhealthy, and creating a new one. Yeah, this is where the issue is. Terminating and launching, terminating and launching. And why are they unhealthy? Oh, I know. The requests were timing out because the instances could not access the DB, and because the DB was still being recreated. So the moment they time out, the SG thinks that that instance is unhealthy. That instance is unhealthy, deletes it, and starts to create another one. So all that issue is coming from these RDS. All these issues are stemming from here, which is quite understandable because of the changes we made. And I wonder why RDS has crazy. Now it is available. So I'm sure it's not going to mess up. Did the instances finish? So the instance, the DB is available. So let's go to, where were we checking? I think you were checking under the ASG. I think the instances are now, I think we are looking at under the load balancer. No, not the load balancer. Still two and are unhealthy. So I'll do something crazy. I'll go to instances and terminate all these. Hit them. I'm sure automatically new instances will now start to be created. Oh yeah, we'll go to the target groups and look at the activities from there. And then I think we're going to go to activity, to targets. Good. So one has been created. So let's go to EC2 and see. Let's go to see whether the status checked has changed to 2 out of 2. So it is still initializing. So I'm very curious about this. I'm usually curious about errors because those are the things that happen in the real world. So CF guys, don't worry. I'm still going to run through a lab with you. Your lab is not going to be taking too long. So let's see. Let me refresh until I see 2 out of 2 checks passed. But RDS is crazy. RDS is pretty crazy.
Can you check the load balancer?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm waiting.
incident.
Yes, I'm waiting for these. I cannot check because the load balancer will still come to this instance, right? So if this instance the status checks has not finished, you can see there's also this other one that have just been created by the auto scaling group. So both of them are, at least one of them has to have this thing of 2 out of 2 checks passed. So if I try to open it without that, I'm sure I'm not going, because you can see under initializing, this is the process I think where it is now installing the things that were in the user data and all those kind of things. So you can see this was what was happening. The SG, the moment the load balancer, was it the load balancer that reports? Is the load balancer that reports? No, it's not the load balance. It's the target group that reports whether an instance is healthy or unhealthy. So you can see it's still saying it's a bit of unhealthy. Then refresh. I'm deregistering them. I'm seeing BEE2 and 668. BEE2 and 668. So you can see I'm seeing a different one. BEB6 and 905. B6 and 905. So auto scaling has created that. B6 and 905. So let me register them. There's something confusing me here. Go to instances. But they should be registered automatically. Oh, so it is BEE2 and B668. BEE2 and B668. BEE2, they're here, but they're saying that they're unhealthy. but I'm sure it's because it is still initializing. So you can see it is now fine. So if I go to target groups, I should refresh it. I think I go to the load balancer now, and I get the DNS. So this timing out is usually a security group issue, but we're going to solve it. So this one did not have an issue. This inventory app is the one that had an issue. And do you know what I'm going to do? Under inbound, I'm going to make it useless a bit and see whether life is going to be easier for us. Inbound, then I say anywhere IPv4. Okay, delete. Let me just see whether if I do that, life is going to be easier for us. Again, I'll do that for the other security group and see, just to confirm everything. Also on the DB side, I'm going to do the same. Just to ensure that life is easier for us. And see whether that was the issue. The issue is under the security group. Oh yeah, it should be MySQL. SQL should come from maybe custom. And I think it was which subnet, private subnet. Inbound should come from it should come from the inventory app. Let me see, it can come from also the inventory LB. Let me cancel. Let's see. Okay, that was where the issue is. This one. This is what? This is the 2DD is what? 2DD. 2DD is the inventory app, right? But we should use MySQL or Aurora, right? And then we use the 2DD. 2DD, which is the inventory app, which makes sense. Why is the request okay? Is it inbound? What am I doing? Okay, I think the first one, it was, I think, MySQL Aurora. Our inventory DB was not having that. I think I can just edit the inbound rules. I add another rule. I use MySQL Aurora, and then I use the 2DD. And I think I'll delete that one. Then I'll save changes. Good, that makes sense. I think then the other issue that I had done, the other issue that was there, which I had made a mistake of, which is fine, is I go back to the security group. I go to the inventory app, which should receive traffic from the load balancer. Remove this and make it receive traffic from, which is HTTP, right? Is it HTTP or HTTPS? or both. Let me just do HTTP, then custom, I say SG from the load balancer. Then I add another one, HTTPS should come also from the load balancer. Let's see what works. Or even I can say all traffic. Anyway, but HTTPS makes sense. Yeah, and it has worked, right? It has worked somehow. Here somewhere, although the instances I think were being deleted again by the auto-scaling group. So let's look at the instances. I think they are fine. I think now when I go to the target group, I'm going to see.
Or it's because you added more inbound rules.
No, I just did the HTTP and HTTPS. So I believe now these health checks will change. Yeah, will now change to what? Will change to healthy very soon because the request, you can see it has changed to healthy. Awesome.
Yeah.
So since it has changed to healthy, I don't know why. I think the issue was the DB settings, which I put and they are not working. I think usually
Password is the challenge. Can you try lab-password?
Unable to establish DB connection. I say lab password.
Lab-password.
Yeah, let's try that one. Yeah, it has worked.
Yeah.
You've done these labs like crazy so many times until you already know the password.
Is common. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it has worked. You can see this is the DB. I can add data into it. I think we remember we did this. I was trying out some things here. I've ever tried some things. Yeah. 11 of them, and I just submit and it goes to the DB, which is fine. And you can see it is working from the 668. If I refresh, case I continue, you can see it has worked from the BEE2 in the other availability zone, which is fine. And I think if I now submit, I'll get my 75, which I've looked for it so hard. That was too hard. I made it too hard for myself. And I don't know where the issue was. I think finally the issue was the issues about the HTTP and HTTPS. I was using TCP. So I think I'll submit now. I'll say yes. You can submit a number of times for those who are going to be doing cloud architecting later on after your cloud foundations, for those who are here. So let's wait. I see whether I'm going to get my 75 finally. Yeah, because that would have actually been bugging my mind all the whole day, wondering where did I miss it up. Yeah, and I've gotten all the marks, which is fine. So that is it, and I think I'll end the lab here. And then even if you're doing cloud architecting, you're still free to check out what I'm going to do on the Cloud Foundations lab. Not going to take too long. I think by around 11:15 I'll be done. Yeah, so I think I can close that. So that was the first part. We did a highly available. For those doing cloud architecting, you should check. By now you should be on the same pace as I am. If I'm in module 9 doing the guided lab, you should be around there or far. Remember, I think next week is like the final week of learning. I'm still going to have that other week that I give you enough time for you to complete the class. But obviously, I'm not going to be running a lab after next Saturday. Next Saturday is going to be my final session. So I'm going to see whether I'm going to run a number of labs, record them. I don't know if so I can see this guided lab on automating. William, which have you done this one? Automating infrastructure deployment using a CloudFormation?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet. Okay. It's a really interesting one. CloudFormation really makes life so easy. It makes life so easy. Those things that you are creating manually, you can just create it at once using CloudFormation. So I've done this. So you'll do your challenge lab for the cafe business case. Don't forget as you, and then the strategy, if you're not a video person, always just go to the student guide, open it up. It has a PDF of all the things that are being, but you cannot download the PDF, unfortunately, because of how AWS Academy has protected its data. But you can still use it, read if you're not a video person to watch, or you don't even have time to watch the videos. Remember, as I said, this course is 5 weeks, so you should have already learned that. So you can see 87 pages, but still there are slides. So you can be able to see, okay, this section is going to cover this and this. That the notes, which are, you can see the topic, architectural need, implementing elasticity, high availability, and monitoring. What do you do? So you just read all these. In this module, learn how to implement a reactive architecture that is elastic, resilient, and responsive. The components that make this architecture scalable and highly available include such as a second availability zone, an application load balancer, EC2 auto scaling, and Amazon Route 53. So you can see, and I think this is what we've just done. Just that the orientation has changed from portrait to landscape. So cafe business requirement. The cafe will be featured in a former TV show when it tells the architecture must handle significant increases in capacity. So you can see that is the business case. So reactive architecture should be elastic, it should be that. So you can see, you can read whatever is here. reactivemanifesto.org. Yeah, so you can just read all these. Then after you read all these up until the last page, you can go to your knowledge check. You can go to your knowledge check and do your knowledge check. Yeah. So that is the work of the student guide, to give you all like a consolidated overview of what has been broken down by the videos here. Same case applies. So where are we? I think we are far back with regards to cloud architecting. There's this cloud formation. We have another guided lab. Those are two. This one didn't have, which is a good thing for me. This is optional. Again, I don't do the optional ones for purposes of time, but you can do it. It's a very nice thing. I ever did this on my Udacity course, AWS Cloud Developer course on Udacity, on how to break a monolith application into microservices. So I wouldn't advise you make it optional, make it real. So this is the third one, which you need to do. Guided lab on Lambda. Serverless. Serverless is crazy, but it's a good thing. It makes work easier. This is the fourth one. So you have 4 pending labs. So 4 pending labs. 4 pending labs. I don't know how you're going to be able to finish all the 4 pending, because I wouldn't want to leave you hanging on all the labs, but I'll see. So let's look at CF. Let's look at CF. This is my CF for educator version. Anyone who is seeing it, I think my eyes are not seeing things. Okay, Cloud Foundations. Are you seeing Cloud Foundations educator? Cloud operations, cloud developing. Okay, I'm not seeing it here. Maybe let me just go to your course. So CA guys, you can see you need to work like twice as hard for the next 2 weeks. For the next 2 weeks, you need to push yourself to the limit and see, especially the challenge labs. And I would advise you participate in the sprint. But if you stay silent, be sure, I'm very sure. Okay, I didn't do the normal ritual of seeing how much time you spent. Let me see. It's a good ritual to look at how much time each of you has been spending on the CA lab. I mean on the CA course. So let's go to that. This was the, okay. Or you don't want me to expose that? Let me see. Okay. Let's go to people. Wow. Willie has spent around 31 hours so far. Richard, 8 hours. He's quite fine, but I'm not seeing Richard on the calls. Leon is around 6 hours. Oliver is around 13 hours. Oliver, your chances of finishing the course are diminishing by the hours. So you should try to make sure. I don't know whether you're doing only the labs or maybe you're learning the sections, or whichever strategy of learning you're using. Just try to make sure you're completing the checks. Let me just go to grades and see how many knowledge checks people have done. So I can see Oliver has done the challenge lab, the guided as well as the challenge lab. Wow. Leon is about to be removed from the course. Richard, no lab yet. No lab. What are people doing? If they spend 8 hours, are they just watching? Challenge lab. So Will has already done the challenge lab for module 5. I think you can see like right now, Oliver is at module 5, I think. So can be able to see Richard, Willie has reached module 7, right? I think also he has already also done the guided lab for module 9. I think it's the one that we are doing today, if I'm not wrong. So you need to do the challenge lab for 8 and also for 9. Because you also have the guided lab for 10. 10 was what? What is 10? Yeah, automating cloud infrastructure deployment. I'm thinking about this. How about we have another session after a bit of a break for the CA guys, and we do this lab on cloud formation. You tell me, what do you think? Like as I go through the CF with the CF guys, you take a break, and then after I finish with them, I'll do my like a 5 or 10 minute break for myself. Then we come back and do this lab with you guys. I don't know what you think. This one on cloud formation. You can tell me what you think, or if you are held up, we can decide to do it maybe in the evening. Maybe just tell me. It's a democratic kind of thing. Yes, William.
Right now I'm held up. Now I'm held up. Maybe we can do evening, or maybe we can find a day in the midweek. Maybe.
Yeah, I think we can do a day in the midweek. We'll decide. Maybe you'll tell me in the
evening
group.
Hours.
In the group. Yeah, we'll do in the evening hours of another Nini. So I think that is fine. I think with that, I'll release anyone doing cloud architecture.
I think I can go now.
Yeah, you can go. Thank you so much, William. Let me remain.
But the module 6 challenge, that
yes.
module 6 challenge gives me issues. I figure it out.
I think what you can do, we'll organize a time with you and we run the lab together and see what the challenge is.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll like the way we did, like as I do, you do it.
Okay.
Then we see how it goes. Yeah, we'll organize that with you. So far so good. Keep it up. Go on well. So let me just remain with the CF guys, and we. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Willie. Thank you so much also for your time. So let's go on to cloud foundations. So where did we reach? I think we did the lab. We did the lab for, sorry about the time. I think you saw the process of trying to look for an error. But I hope it was as interesting, even though maybe you might not have been understanding what is going on. That lab was all about highly available environment. Think of it like separate houses, so that in case one house burns down, you can still use another house with this. Let me go to test student. Maybe I'll be able to see where I reached last as a test student or a student view. Remind me which, so you have Christopher here, we have Unia, we have Festus and Ruth. Can remind me where we reached last. Did we do the lab on building a DB server? Which lab did we do last? Anyone has an idea? If you don't tell me, I'll decide on one and I'll go with that one.
I think the last one we did was on VPCs or
VPC. Okay, let me check. I'll build your VPC and launch a web server. We haven't done EC2. Okay, if you haven't done EC2, I'll give you a psychological preparation. We're going to do 2 labs today because of how far back we are. So we're going to, if you haven't done EC2, we're going to do EC2 as well as the one on, I think, AWS. And let's see how life takes us. So let's go with EC2. You are free to also do it along with me. So you can be on your platform and also do along. So let's do the lab 3. Even if you have done it, you can repeat it. There's no, yes. Yes?
Kevin, you getting me?
Yes, I'm getting you.
Yeah, for today, I have some kind of an issue.
Yeah,
I'm kindly requesting if you could allow me to drop off, and then I will follow the video later.
That's fine. Okay. That's fine. You know, the good thing is you've been here from around 7, 8, so it's totally understandable and you can always watch the video. You'll just forward to where you want to access the lab, which is fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, let's go on. So, so let's do the EC2. So the EC2, as I always tell you, when you're seeing the lab, you click on Start Lab so that it starts provisioning the resources. Then you start reading the instructions so that you'll be killing 2 birds with 1 stone, or maybe, if I can say, multitasking of sorts. So if this comes up, you wait for this to come up, then you just close it. Then you can see. So what are we being told here? We're doing to, so EC2 is the one of the core services, is the basic service, or let me not say basic, it is the go-to service for anyone who's trying to start out on AWS cloud. So so let's get onto this. So, and funny thing, if you haven't ever known, Amazon, the way the EC2 instance, the first ever EC2 instance that Amazon came up with, it was designed in South Africa, which means that we have a lot of potential here in Africa, because the foundation of how big now Amazon is with regards to AWS started out, if you follow it up on the history of EC2, it started out in South Africa. I'll not Google it up, you just look it up and see how it works. So I've already done the start lab. So what we're going to do in this lab, let's know, always look at this part, right? I should be able to launch a web server with termination protection enabled. So what termination protection is, if somebody clicks terminate, it will not start terminating the instance. It will tell you, can you disable termination protection first so that you can terminate an instance? I think I said in the earlier lab, earlier class, is that there was a time when I was starting out with AWS some years back, I think around 2 years or 3 years back. I was very scared of terminating an instance. I was also scared of starting an instance because I was thinking about the money involved around it. So as I went on further, I realized there's a lot you can do, and there's a way you can even stop an instance if you're no longer using it. Right now, I have even friends of mine who have been able to migrate their solutions to AWS, and I did that, and they paid me for it. So I'm really enjoying the whole process around it and seeing, okay, truly, cloud is not a mirage. You can actually create a solution for someone and you can be able to see them use it every day, and you can be sure it is running on a cloud service somewhere. So that I hope you are also getting to the point where you're going to move from the learning part of things to now the practical part of things, which is working with clients. I always tell people, stop using shared hosting providers and start using, let me take this call a bit. Okay, sorry about that. I was taking, I think there was a call I was receiving. It was a work-related call, and it was my boss. So let's get on to this. So where are we? I've said you're going to launch a web server. You're going to monitor it. You're going to modify the security group of the servers to allow HTTP access. You should have seen that we did something like that in the other lab. We're going to resize our EC2 instance to scale. You're going to explore the EC2 limits. Then you're going to test the termination protection ability. Then you're going to now terminate the instance. So you can see the lab has already been provisioned. I'll click on AWS. But before I do that, I think I'll go to this part. Okay, yeah. So I'll click on AWS to open the console. I need to log out of the other one. Then I go back again. I click on AWS. So I'll run this very fast because I have to end this by around 11:20. I have to go to the bank. The bank closes at noon. So where are we? So let's go to, I think EC2. Let me just take it to how I was doing it with the other lab. I'll take this to this desktop. And then for this other desktop, what has happened? Oh, yeah. I've taken it to the desktop, but I've not taken this. I should take this to the other desktop. It's fine. Then I think we can now just good. So I think now let's go. So you're going to launch an instance. So as I always tell you, my strategy is we do a number of steps. We like put them in our mind and see whether we can be able to do this. So go to services, then I'll choose compute. Okay, this is the long process. So you just search EC2, then you launch instances. The name we'll call it web server. It's usually stored as a tag. So what you do, tagging resources helps you also to check costs and everything. So always you can define multiple tags, but it's always a good practice to tag resources. So let's go to application and OS images. You have Amazon machine image. You're going to use the quick start. In the other lab, you are actually having a custom machine image, but here we're going to use the default one, Amazon Linux 2 AMI HVM. Then quick start always has the most commonly used AMI. You can even start a Windows instance or whichever, but this one I'm going to just use the Amazon Linux. So in the instance type, we are going to use t2.micro. T2.micro, I think, usually is within the free tier. So even if you have a personal account, you can always use these and it can work for you within the free tier. So it has one virtual CPU and also 1 GB of memory. This might not be the ideal environment for which a certain application may operate in. So, but remember, this is a lab, so you might be restricted to use all the other instance type. For key pair name required, choose voc key. Uses a public key to ensure that in this lab you will not actually use a key pair. You'll not actually use the key pair you have specified to log into your instance. So we are not going to use, so key pair usually used for SSH login sometimes. Then network settings, you're going to edit, you're going to choose the lab VPC, and then you're going to, under security group, you're going to use web server security group. And then the description is going to be a security. So a security group is like a virtual firewall. Just helps to know who is supposed to be let in. Think of it like a gate man. They'll check your ID and tell you, okay, you can go in. If you don't have an ID, they'll ask you, do you have an appointment or something of that sort? So think of it like that. Obviously, when people are going out, do you usually see a gate man there checking whether you're supposed to get out or not? Rarely. So that is why you can see under outbound rules, most of the time, they usually see allow all to get out. So in the configure storage section, you're going to use the EBS. The default is usually around 8 GB. Again, this one is not usually the most optimal storage to use for your data or something. Usually have EFS, but because we usually say that the EBS is usually ephemeral. What that means is when you terminate the instance, whatever is also here is also destroyed. Yeah. We're going to enable termination protection under advanced details. Then we're going to add this user data, which is actually going to just enable HTTP. And then you're going to have an HTML, an index.html file will be created with this information. Then you're going to launch the instances. So I think we can get to that. I think I've covered a lot. but let's see whether we can be able to do that all from our minds. So let's go to EC2. Let's go to instances. Then we'll launch an instance. So we're calling it according to what it called web. Was it web server security group? No. It was called my web server, or what?
It's a web server.
It's called web server, right?
Yeah.
It's just that I'm so lazy to type this. Let me just copy this. Okay, thanks for that. So I think we can go on to this, call it web server. As you've been told from the Amazon machine images, the quick start usually has the most recently used. Obviously, Amazon is obviously selfish of itself. It has to put it on the first, but you can do Ubuntu, you can do Mac OS, you can do Windows, Red Hat, SUSE Linux, Debian, all that are here. So let's use the one that they've told us. This one is free tier eligible, t2.micro, if I'm not wrong. Okay, this one, the t2.micro is down here. But even the Amazon, you can see Ubuntu is not free tier. Is it free tier eligible? Okay, I think here it is. Okay, so some of it. So let's go back to that. T2.micro, fine. Key pair, we're going to use voc key, but again, I've been told in the lab, you're not going to use it. For security group, are we creating, or I think are we selecting one? What about the security group? What was the thing on the security groups? It just go to edit first, then you deal with the lab VPC. We're going to create a new security group called web server security. Oh, that is why you copied that. So let's go and create the lab VPC. So the lab VPC was created using a CloudFormation template during the setup process of the lab. So let's go to edit here. These are the editors. VPC, you should ensure that it is lab VPC. It has been created for us. You can even go back and analyze the VPC itself. You can see it is working under the 0.0.0/16. Subnet, I think, what is the subnet? I think public subnet 1 is fine. Yeah, keep the default subnet. Instances will be assigned to a public address, which is fine. So what about this one? We're going to add okay. So let's go. Let's go to this. Auto assign, make sure it is always enabled, don't disable it. Create a new security group. It's called web server security group. The description is also required. Again, as I've said, I'm too lazy to type these things. Obviously, my posture also. It's just that you cannot see my posture. Okay, then that. Then I'll remove this security group. But I'm really wondering why they are not telling me the security group to put, but it's fine. I mean the inbound security group rule, but it's fine. 8 GB. Under advanced details, I'll enable termination protection here. Here it is. You can even enable stop protection so that nobody can stop an instance without knowing. But for our case, we're using termination protection. User data here. You need to paste. Obviously, I'll not type it. If I was not able to type the other ones, will I be able to type the whole bash script? Obviously not. So here it is. So this is the bin bang and then the commands to install the Apache service. Then enable it, then you start it, then you create an index.html file. with hello from your web server, which is fine. So I'll do this. I've put it there. What else is left? Is there anything else that I've missed? Launch the instance. It's always very important to confirm. 8 GB. So there's nothing else. So let's launch the instance. So everything that you've done is also under this summary. You can also review it. Okay, so I've done that. So let it load. You can go to view instances, view all instances down here. So you can see spending, you're going to wait until it's going to be running, as well as also having the 2 out of 2 checks passed. So as it does that, we can go and check what else we need to do. You're going to monitor, use the status checks. System reachability and instance reachability checks are passed. So those are usually the 2 status checks that are usually done. System reachability as well as instance reachability. And then we're going to go to the monitoring tab. You're going to see the CloudWatch metrics for our instance. There are not too many metrics to display because the instance was recently launched. And choose the 3 dots icon and enlarge the expanded view of a chosen metric. So usually use Amazon CloudWatch for the EC2 instance. Basic 5-minute monitoring usually enabled by default. You can also enable detailed 1-minute monitoring if you want. In the actions menu, monitor troubleshoot, you can get the system log, which usually displays a console output of the instance, which is usually a very good tool for problem diagnosis, especially if you are having some kernel problems, service configuration issues. Usually use sometimes you can even use it to check some passwords or something of that sort. So you can see HTTP package was installed from the user data, from the console log. This is what you'll see. Ensure the web server is still selected. Actions monitor, get instance screenshot. So that is that. Yeah, so we can look at the monitoring. Right, so let's do that. Hopefully it is done. I can see it is running. Status checks. Please. It is initializing the status checks. So I have to wait a bit. So as we wait a bit on the status checks, after you're going to update the security group, copy the public IPv4 address of your instance to the clipboard. Open a new tab and paste the IP and press enter. Why not? You'll not be able to access because of the inbound rules you haven't pasted. So keep the browser tab open, but return to the EC2 console. The left, we're going to edit the inbound rules and going to put HTTP and then your IPv4. Once you do that, you're going to resize the instance, but we must stop it first. And then we're going to go to, after we stop the instance, we're going to change the instance type from t2.micro to I think t2.small. And then also we're going to resize the EBS volume. I think it's around 8 GB. We're going to change it to 10 GB. And then we're going to start the resized instance. Yeah, so I think we can do all that. I've already talked about monitoring. And then I've also talked about resizing, about the about changing the security group so that you're able to access, as well as resizing. So let's do that. Oh, so the status checks are passed. So I'll select this under status checks. You can see it passed the system reachability check, as well as the instance readability. So under monitoring, you can see the CloudWatch metrics. Because this instance has been started recently, you're not going to see much in terms of data. That's why you can see no data available. can always click on the 3 dots of any and enlarge if you want to see it in a bigger fashion and try to analyze. You can open a certain area, but since the instance is all there, what did I do? I'll just go back to this history recently closed. I'll do that. Since the instance has been opened recently, you'll not see much. Again, what else were we supposed to do under monitoring? You can go to instance, go to actions, monitor and troubleshoot. You can get the system log. And you can see these are the log of things that happened when you can be able to see installing HTTP and doing that. And then this is when it was starting, then transaction, downloading the packages, install, after it was installing, it is currently running that, existing log, cleanup, it did all this, it did all this. So that is the log of the system. Again, I can cancel that part by clicking down there, still select the web server, go to actions, monitor and troubleshoot down here, and get us instance screenshot. And you can see that is how it looks, as if it was connected to a screen. You can be able to get that. Really also helps in monitoring. Again, I can cancel that. I select, then I go to actions. Is there anything else under monitoring? You can manage detailed or something of that sort, but that is fine. I think now we need to go to try to see whether you can connect to it. I'll copy this. Don't click on this open address. It usually opens with HTTPS, which is usually an issue, especially if you don't have a security certificate, a necessary certificate installed. So you copy the IP here, open it here. You can see it is not opening, it's going to timeout. And the issue is on the security groups. So under security, you can see our security group doesn't have any inbound rule. And without an inbound rule, the gateman will not allow anyone to go in because he doesn't even know what criteria will I use to allow traffic into the instance. So we'll edit the inbound rules. I'll just click on it. Security, I'll edit the inbound rules. I'll allow HTTP traffic because this is a web server. HTTP, okay, what have we just opened Redshift? HTTP, and then I can say all coming from anywhere in the internet, and I'll save. And you can see it took too long to respond, but right now you can see it has worked. Hello from your web server. So I think we've been able to do that. The other thing that we needed to do is what? Resizing the instance. So we cannot resize the instance without stopping it. So you need to stop it. So you're going to go to instances, and then I'm going to stop this instance. Stop it. After I stop it, what will I also use? I'll go to actions, then I go to configure. I'll change the instance type. I'll change the storage to be a bit bigger. Then I'll start the resized instance. So if I'm looking a bit fast, don't worry, there's the video. So we're going to watch at a slower pace. It's just that I actually have to do this as fast as possible.
Instance settings from actions.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Thank you. So
change the instance type.
Yeah, sure. I think, but this one will actually do one thing at a time. I would prefer the one that has where you can be able to change everything. Is there a place where you see configure? Okay, you change this only one, or maybe the console changed. I thought, okay, let's see what happens, what the lab is telling us. It's actually have to doing that way. You have to do one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. Sure, I agree with you. That's Christopher, right?
Yeah.
Sure, I agree with you. I thought we could actually get the same screen as that. So we're going to change from t2.micro to t2.small. So t2.small. The other thing we're going to change, I think, is the resizing. Still the same, right?
Not the same. You need to go to volume on your left.
Okay. Oh, sure. Don't worry, I'm a bit tired. Okay. So I think which is the one that is associated with it? This one, right? Web server, the second one. Modify volume. Change it from 8. Oh, what the hell? What did I just do? Okay. I'm changing it to 8 to 10, right?
Yes, to 10.
Even my laptop is going haywire on me. Okay, modify. Okay, so it is going to do that. So as it does the optimization, what should be the next thing to do?
So you should now go and restart the modified instance.
Now like start it because we had stopped it, right?
Yeah.
Then I'm now going to explore the EC2 limits in the left navigation pane. Choose limits. You may see a banner indicating that you cannot load some limit. You can ignore all limits. Notice that there are limits on the number of types of instance that can run in a region. For example, there's a limit on the number of running of on-demand standard instance that can launch. When launching instance, the request must not cause your usage to exceed the instance limit currently defined in that region. You can request an increase for many of these limits, right? So whatever happened, there was a time my AWS account was kind of, let me not say hacked, maybe the security keys or the SSH keys were available on the internet as I was trying to do some certain code. And I think somebody got access and they started out very big instances across like 10 regions. It was a very big issue that I had, that actually costed me around $220. That's around 20,000 there, or in terms of my credits. And we had to actually have a long conversation back and forth on email with AWS, trying to tell them that I wasn't the one. There's no way I could have been able to start like 32 vCPUs and like 32 GB RAM of worth of instances in the wee hours of the night in less than what. So by now, I think they limited my AWS account. I cannot do such big things, which is fine because I don't intend to go that haywire with regards to EC2 instances. And to be good enough to me, they refunded me a bit of the credits so that I can use it for other things. So, but it was a crazy kind of an experience. And they actually had to do a lot with regards to securing my account. So yeah, so we're going to test termination protection. We're also going to check those limits. Okay, let's go to this. There's the limits on the left navigation pane. Okay, I know I cannot load that. So you can see I cannot open a P4D dedicated host. I cannot run dedicated hosts. Let me see if I want to start like, so let me tell you the one that had been opened. I think it was a crazy one. It was XX large. It was a very big one. You can see like this one. Let's see, like this one is a metal what 48 vCPUs. This is a crazy instance. Oh, I can open it, then I request. Wow. So you can see my current limit is 256 virtual CPUs. And I need 48 more so that I can get to 3 or 4, so I can request those instances. So that is how you do limits, and just check what you can and cannot do within a certain region. Okay, let's go and try to terminate the instance that has termination protection on. I go to instance state. Okay, what has happened? Why can I not see?
You've not started. You've not started.
Oh yeah, sure. I wish I had started it. Start instance. You can see how sometimes I thought I started it. I started it within my mind, but it's fine. Let it be starting. As it starts, let's see whether we're having another step apart from testing termination protection. Nice. So we'll disable, then we terminate, then we complete the lab. Wow. Okay, after doing a cloud architecting lab, usually feel these labs are like so they end before they start. The ones from Cloud Foundations. Okay, let's go. So it is now running. Let me terminate. You can see termination protection is enabled for one or more selected instances, so I cannot do it. But if I open the Bastion host, I'll be able to see. I don't think termination protection has been. Do you see? I can already click on it. So what I'll do, I'll go to web server, right? Remind me, I go to
actions, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think it's instance settings.
Yes, then
change
termination.
Yeah,
change termination. Then I'll enable.
Then you disable. Right? Yeah.
Then I'll click on save, right? Yep. So that is basically it. Then we now terminate the instance. Okay. What did I do? Did I do it on the right? Oh, I need to refresh it, right? I even thought I've not done it. Yeah. So you can see I can terminate. And I terminate it. So let me tell you something. Okay. Chris, you had planned to run a certain lab. Which one? I've just remembered you were supposed to run a lab.
I was supposed to do this one.
It was, no, you cannot say it was this one. After I finished doing it, you should have stopped me and decided to do it. So you're going to do the other one. Which is the other one? Let me see. It just hit me that I wasn't the one supposed to run this lab, but it has hit me when I've just finished it. This lab is too easy for you, so it's not the one that you're going to run. So let's go to modules and see which lab you're going to run. Which if you can run 2 labs. Should have told me in the so that I can even take a water break or something. Yeah. So where are we? So we've just done the EC2. So we're going to do the one on database, right? Yes.
Module 7. Next is module 7, working with EBS.
Working with EBS, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So you ready? I can give you rights to share your, to be co-host or something. Then I can even give you the host rights or something so that I'll run with this. Okay. No, I think, okay, whichever. So co-host or host will be fine. I think I've given you that. So I think you'll run with this, right? And then you see how it goes, right? And if it's how many minutes is it saying that it can take? 30 minutes. You can do 2. You can do 2 of them, the EBS and the RDS. Then I think after that, if I'll not logged back in, you can easily end the class. Before you do that, I think as always, I'll check on the people or something as a ritual. Let me leave my student view. I'll check on how people have been doing their things, amount of time spent. Okay, I can see people have really worked hard. Although this person didn't join in, so I'll remove that person from the course. They logged in last Saturday, but they didn't come in. No, removal very fast. Michelle, 5 minutes, removal very fast. That's how I usually do things. I'm so ruthless. Jimmy Mwangi, 14th, having spent 2 hours. Removal very fast. Simon, that 18 at least is yesterday. I can. Faith. Okay, Faith, let me just be lenient on her, and maybe if she watched the video, you'll be able to see, which is fine. 19 is today. Fatma, 10th, having spent 2 hours. That is crazy. That person doesn't have time for the course. So I'll just remove that person. I think that is that. I think the rest of you are pretty much somewhere. 16th, having spent 1 hour. When is 16th? 16th was on what? When is the? I think this person joined recently, so I'll give it one more chance. One more chance and see how it works. 15th, this one is the one that is really disturbing my mind. When is 15th? 15th was on a Tuesday. Since it's still within this week, I'll just give it another chance. Then it goes. Okay, I think that is that. So with regards to grades, don't worry, usually hakuna kufichana grade huku. You should get all of them, if not, because you can even recheck. So I can see module check. I can even see Faith has not done Festas. That is why I think I'm going to remove people. I think even Faith, I'm not giving her a chance. Doesn't done any module checks. Even Vincent. So Faith, Festas, Faith, and Vincent. Festas, Faith, and Vincent. So Unia, please do your module checks. Like, I know you're here. So do your module, do your knowledge checks. But let me just give them one more chance. And don't forget to do the knowledge checks. Very, very important. Just do that, because that's the only thing I can check. I cannot check the labs. The labs are not being graded automatically. So make sure you do your knowledge checks. Well, I'll just think maybe, just maybe. Yeah, so I think that is that. Over to you, Christopher. You can take us through the lab. Let me stop my share. So I'll check up on you later on. I'll drop off so that I can drive off or something. So over to you, Christopher.
Maybe you are just going to do this one because I need to rush somewhere.
Okay, so it's fine. It's totally fine. You can just do one. You can do the one lab on. Is it EBS?
Yes, EBS.
Yeah, sure. And I think your audio is a bit far back. You can find ways of trying to make it a bit clearer for the rest. Sure. Okay. Nice time. Thank you. Laters.
Okay. See you. you able to see my screen? Unia? Teach, are you there? Unia, are you there?
Yes, I can see your screen.
So you can see both the lab and the guide.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So for this one, we are going to do this lab on working with AWS, and we are just going to start the lab immediately. So we start the lab, we click on AWS to open the console, and then we create the new volume, the new AWS volume. So in the AWS management console, we click on EC2. So I click on EC2, the instance name lab. Having two instances. So we are told to, in the left navigation pane, choose instances, and then we have an instance name lab, which has already been launched. Know that the availability zone for the instance should be US East 1A. So maybe we can confirm from here. So US East. Okay, so we're supposed to choose volumes. So we choose volumes. And then on the top right, we create volume. So we should select our general purpose SSD, GP2. The size of the GB should be 1. So it's GB. I think the size in GB should be 1 GB or something. And then the availability zone, you select the same as your EC2 instance. So our EC2 instance was in US East 1A. So this is the availability zone, that is correct. And then I choose add tag. The key name should be name, and then value my volume. Then we create volume. So our next step is to attach the volume to an instance. So we select my volume, and then in the actions menu, choose attach volume. So actions, attach volume is not active. Let's see now. Yeah, attach volume is now active. So we select attach volume. Choose the instance field. So the instance field should be the lab running. And then the device field is set to dev SDF. So that one is okay. And then choose attach volume. So our next step moment, I need to stop the terminal from running. So that task is connect to your Amazon EC2 instance. So Windows users, you can use SSH to connect. So actually it says we read through these 3 bullet points before we in the next step, before you start complete the actions, because you will not be able to see the instructions when the details panel is open. So choose details and then drop down menu above, see the instructions you are currently reading, and then you choose show. So like details, and then you choose select show. And then choose the download PPK button and save this file. Typically your browser will save the download directory, then exit the details panel by choosing X. Okay, so we should choose. So we should download this one. And after we download, so if you do not have these client putty, we should download from here. So for me, I don't have, so I'll have to download. So now my putty is open. And then I choose connection. And then you set the seconds between keep alive to 30. Where is that? So the seconds between keep alive, you change this one to that. And then configure your PT session, you choose the session. And then the host name or IP address, copy and paste the IPv4 address. So for us to find this one, we need to return to the EC2 console. We choose instances. We check the box for our public. So we go to instances. So we need to check the box for this one. So we need to copy the public IPv4 address for the instance to find this one. So public, this one, we need to copy this one. And then back to PuTTY, the connection, expand SSH. And then you choose authentication. So we expand this one. So we need to choose this one, the authentication option, then choose browse. Are you seeing the browse option? Because now it says choose auth. And then it says select browse, but after choosing this one, I cannot see the option to browse. But the browse option, I can be able to see from credentials. So let me try with this one, choose browse and then open the file. So I will select the file that I downloaded, and then choose open and then open. Let's see whether it's possible to open this one. Actually, I'm getting an error. Why I'm getting this error here. I need to put the IP address there. Then I go back to connections and authentication. Let me try and open it now. Actually, now we are asked to log in. I think it's now successful. Initially, we didn't paste the IP address, the public IP address. So when prompted to log in, use EC2 user. So it says the supported authentication is not available. Let me try and create a new session. To the public IP. We go to connection. We to expand this one. We select this one. And we select here. And try to open. And it says we log in as EC2. EC2 user. So I think now the login is successful. This is an Amazon Linux 2 AMI. Are you seeing the PuTTY screen? Hello. Hello, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, the screen is visible.
Okay, thank you. So this one is for the guys using the macOS. So this is the screen. You read through the instructions, show the downloads. This one. So task 4 now, because we are already logged into the PuTTY screen to our EC2 instance. Task 4 is create and configure your file system. So in this task, you will add the new volume to the Linux instance and as an extension of ext3 file system. So if you're using PuTTY, you can paste the text by right-clicking on the PuTTY window below. So this one, you should, okay, let me try and use this one. Let me copy and paste. So you can see you should be able to output the similar. So you can see the output is similar to what we have in our instructions. So we have the file system, dev.tm. We have all these files here. So which is actually the same. So this is showing the original 8 GB disk volume. Your new volume is not yet shown. So to create a new volume, we use this command here. So we just copy, then we paste to our PuTTY. And then to create the directory for mounting the new storage. So we do this one, we copy this one and we paste to our EC2 instance. And then now we need to mount the new volume to the instance. So we copy this one, and then we paste, then we click enter. So to configure the Linux instance to mount the volume whenever the instance is started, you will need to add a line to etc. So what we do is we just copy this one. Then let's try and paste, then click enter. So now we need to view the configuration file to see the settings on the last line. So what we need to do is we copy this one. So now we can be able to view the configurations. And then now to view the available storage again, we do the same. We copy this one, then we paste. So the output will now contain an additional line. So let's look for this line. Yeah, this one. So the output now contains an additional line. So let's compare with the other one. Yeah, the other one did not contain that line. So the last one was TPMS. But now for the new one, we have an additional line below it. And then on your mounted volume, you create a file and add some text to it. So we need to copy this one. Then we paste. So we need to now verify that the text has been written to your volume. So for us to verify, we need to use this command. We just copy and paste like this. So the text that was written to it is this one. Some text has been written, and now you can be able to see after we run this command, we can see the text is written to our volume. Some text has been written. And then task 5 is to create an Amazon EBS snapshot. So what we will do here, we need to go to the management console, we choose volumes and then select my volume. So let me minimize this one. So what we need to do here, we choose volumes, select my volume. And then in the actions, you just select a create screenshot. So in the actions, we create a snapshot. I choose the add tags. So this one. So we need to add tag. So the tag is name. And then my value is my snapshot. And then we create the snapshot. And then in the left navigation pane, choose snapshots. So we need to select snapshots on the left. So this is our snapshot here. The status says it's pending, so maybe I need to refresh. So the snapshot creation is completed now. It will then change the state to completed. So you need to know that only used storage blocks are copied to snapshots. So empty blocks do not occupy any snapshot storage. So in your remote session, delete the file that you created on your volume. So we need to go back to our client, that is Putty. In your remote SSH, delete the volume. So we need to copy this one. Then we paste. Verify that the file has been deleted. So for us to verify, we need to list them using this command. So lost and found. So the file has been deleted. So now we need to restore the Amazon EBS snapshot. So create a volume using a snapshot. So we need to go back to AWS, select my snapshot. So you need to select this one. In the actions, create volume from snapshot. So actions, create volume from snapshot. For availability zone, select the same. So availability zone is the same. That is US East 1A. And then we need to choose add tag. So our tag should be name. And then the value is restored volume. And then we create volume. When restoring a snapshot to a new volume, you can also modify the configuration such as changing the volume type, the size, and the availability zone. So before we created the volume, there was an option for us to change the availability zone as well as the size. We also need to attach the restored volume to your EC2 instance. And so in the left pane, we choose volumes again. So we go back to volumes. You need to select the restored volume and then actions, attach volume. We go to actions and then we attach volume. I choose the instance field, that is the lab. So we need to choose the lab. And then the device field is this one. And then we should just select attach volume. So after that, we need to go back to our client, the Putty client, and then we need to create a directory for mounting the new volume now, the restored volume. So we select this one and then paste it. And then we need to mount the volume using this command. So you copy and paste. And then we now need to verify if the volume is mounted. For you to verify, we use the ls or the list command. Then we paste it. And then you should be able to see the file.txt. Initially, it was only lost plus found, but now we have already mounted. You can be able to see the file.text addition. And up to there, we've reached the conclusion of this lab where we are working with AWS. That is Elastic volumes, and the lab is now complete. I'm going to end the lab now. So I go back to my console and then I end the lab. Let me see what will happen to my logged in instance if I end the lab. So the lab is terminating now. So you see what happens with once the lab is terminated, even the PuTTY instance logs out automatically. Remote side unexpected close network connection. So we are not able to reach it once we end the lab because the instance is terminated. So I think up to there, we have reached the end of this session, and maybe we see each other next week. Thank you, Festus and Unia.
Sawa sawa, next week tuonane basi.
Sawa, asante sana.